What's up, and welcome to episode 248 of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, Emma. How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Doing great. I'm excited for our topics for tonight. I'm excited for kind of what that means. We'll get into that when we get there. Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been a good day. Just had some Mexican food for dinner, so we're
Nice.
doing good.
I had spaghetti. Leftovers.
Nice, nice. Uh, this week
As Cameron
we
knows, I just
yeah.
decided to announce that to
Hey,
the rest of the audience.
you do what you got to do. Like,
Yeah.
like no shame on First Geek. Like,
No.
eat whatever you got to eat. And so, this week we are chatting the Game Award 2023 nominations, as well as the conclusion of the SAG-AFTRA strike. Was it because we released a podcast saying that it was still ongoing?
Talking about it.
And that was like literally
Threatening the arrival of Cameron.
Yeah. Is that what happened? You know, there's no way of disproving that. And that's the most important thing. And so we'll be chatting all about that. But first, as always, you can find us as One Geek 411 on our social medias, as well as join our Discord server. You can shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Find us on Twitch Monday nights and find the videos over on our YouTube. Then you can also check out that Redbubble store. Emma, what have you been up to?
Fun stuff. Because I have a bit more of a life now, again, thankfully, I have continued to catch up on all of the D&D stuff that I have fallen behind on. Dimension 20, Critical Role. I am pretty much caught up on Critical Role now. I have not watched the Mighty Nine reunion yet, but that shall happen eventually, because I had to catch up with D3 first, the campaign, third campaign, because that's ongoing. So catch up with the ongoing thing first, and then the one-offs. So that's been fun. Playing more Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's been fun. I think I'm in the second half now. I'm like 60% if PlayStation is accurate with
Nice.
their percentages. So that's been fun. And then I, over the weekend, played a fun indie game on Switch called Chance of Sinar. I don't entirely know how to pronounce it. That I mentioned a bit on Discord. It's a lot of fun. Would have gotten a 5 out of 5 review from me, except they did some weird stuff with the storyline at the end. But I still recommend people pick it up and play it if they want like a chill puzzle game. It's a lot of fun. It's like one of those puzzle games with a story. Like you're going through a story, and doing puzzles, and all of the puzzles are linguistic based. So you have to like go up different levels of a tower. It's almost like a Tower of Babel type thing, and you have to translate the languages based on context clues and things. It's a lot of fun overall. They just did something really weird with the end that I'm like, it's okay, that's a little odd and doesn't fit with the rest of the game, but it is still a lot of fun overall to play, and like a great thinker, and like really does make you use your brain, but in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that perfect level of puzzle where it's like it's not so hard that you just give up or have to constantly refer to Google, but it's not so easy that you feel like you're, doing a kids game or whatever. So it's a lot of fun, a little indie game, and yeah, I like my fun little puzzle games. It's kind of like a similar chill level to Stray on PlayStation. So
Nice.
yeah, that's been my weekend. Yeah.
Nice.
How about yours?
It's been a pretty busy week for us. We are still watching Only Murders in the Building. We're only I think we finished like the 5th episode, so we're definitely a bit more slow going with this one than we have been. That's because Loki was happening. We had the finale of that this past week as well. And then Friday we went and saw The Marvels
Nice.
with Captain Marvel, Spectrum, and Miss Marvel. And I really enjoyed it. We're not going to get into the spoilers or anything like that here, but I thought it was a lot of fun. It's definitely like goofy MCU, which is like my favorite MCU.
Yep.
Like, of course, there's plenty of like more serious like Marvel movies that are very good, like Winter Soldier as an example. But I always love the Ragnaroks. I love the like Ant-Man for that as well. And so I liked how goofy this was, especially compared to like how stoic Brie has to play Captain Marvel in the first movie. I was very excited for her to get to be a lot more goofy in this one. And of course, Iman is just like a saint and the best thing to happen to the MCU in like 15 years. And so as like she's just living her best life, fangirling both over Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, and like all
There
of
you
this
go.
stuff. It's just like, and she's like living. Yeah, she's just like living all of our dreams of like being a fan and then getting to be a part of this. So like,
Yep.
oh, it's so good. And then we had a bunch of family stuff over the weekend as well. We had we all went out to dinner to celebrate the November birthdays, and so like some of the extended family, all of that got together. And then we went and did an escape room on Sunday, which was a lot of fun. And so it was like similar but legally distinct from Harry Potter. And so it was a pretty cool theme. They did it pretty well. I don't think it would like crack my top 5 for like favorite escape rooms ever, but it was pretty cool. Overall, it was very well done. And as opposed to some other ones that we've done, I don't really feel like there was anything that was like a problem, like physically. So like we've done some before where it was like, okay, well, physically, how was I supposed to figure out that this is what I needed to do?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not clear. It's like, oh, we have the magnet, but there's no clue that the magnet goes with this thing and like that kind of stuff. So there was nothing like that. And so I liked that room a lot. And then also Sunday after the escape room, got back and played some D&D with the people over from Checkpoint. Continued our campaign through Strixhaven with the most antagonistic group of players. They're all like actually friends, and so they're just like like their characters are like super antagonistic to each other. And so that was a lot of fun. It's always fun like poking the bear and having them like mess with each other by like doing stuff in world. And so that was a lot of fun. And then over the weekend, I finally finished Sea of Stars. Speaking of games that do some stuff with the ending. So I finished it and got the platinum over the weekend. I think the normal ending for the game is probably one of my least favorite endings in a video game ever. Just in terms of like it being like nonsensical and just being like, it's like super unfulfilling. The true ending's a bit better. But yeah, like the normal ending is just so bad. Basically like requiring you to go and do like the stuff but you have to do a bunch of side quests to unlock the true ending. And it feels like it's basically required, because of just how bad the actual ending is. It's just kind of like, here's the boss fight. Oh, this thing's happening. Bye. And then that's kind of where it ends. And so beat that. I said, got the platinum. There was one trophy that like basically requires a second playthrough. And I gotta say, had I known that it was going to take like 5 hours to get to the point in the second playthrough that it was, I might not have gotten the platinum in this game.
There you go.
Yeah. Just was not prepared for how much it actually meant I had to do to get there. But we're through. It's over. Am I shocked that it's got as many nominations as it did for Game of the Year for the Game Awards? Yes, I am. Um, and I feel like it's kind of adding to the list of games from this year that I'm confused to how other people are liking as much as they are. But um, although I will say art style and music bangers. One of the
Solid.
most pretty games, and I love the soundtrack. Um, so those are fantastic. And overall, like the story is good. It's slow, but like the latter 2/3 of the game were really good, and then it's just like the beginning third and the ending are just not my favorites. But and
There
then
you go.
yeah, because I finished Sea of Stars, it's finally back to Jedi Survivor,
Woo!
which like I'm doing in like the worst way possible because it's like I watched Deanna play it, so I was in no rush to play it myself. And
Yep.
then I started playing it, and then Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Marvel Spider-Man, and Sea of Stars all happened. And so like I'm almost done with the
All the
game, but
things.
like I came back to it and I dropped the difficulty down to Padawan and was just like, you know what, we're here, like
We might as
um,
well.
yeah, and so we're just getting through it. I'm still really enjoying it. I love the story.
Hmm.
Um, for people that have played it, no spoilers. I just got to a point where there's a certain plot twist,
Dun dun dun.
and so that's kind of where I got to today. But chat, comments, let us know what you have been playing, watching, listening to, rocking out to, any of that kind of stuff. What all have you been up to? And we'll hit those when we get to that post show chat. And then let's get into our topic of the week, which is the 2023 Game Awards. Announced their nominees today. Nerdpaster Nate hopping in over from Checkpoint, coming in with the first time chat, says, I will accept nothing less than a Pikmin 4 sweep at the Game Awards. So, Pikmin's there. There's a chance they're going to get some wins. We'll kind of see how that was. But yeah, so let me know for people that are interested or are paying attention into that. Let me know what you want to win, what categories you're excited for. We will not be talking through every category because we don't have things to say about a lot of them. And so instead of wasting time talking about them, we're going to just skip them. But jumping into it, the Game Awards will be held on December 7th. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I always like watching the Game Awards. This year, Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 are both leading the way with 8 nominations. And then Marvel Spider-Man 2 is in third with 7 nominations. Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Bros. Wonder have 5 nominations. And so there's definitely some great stuff. Let's start with the big one, and that's Game of the Year. The 6 nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. What of these have you played? What are your thoughts on them? And what are you thinking is going to take home the win?
I've played one of these, and that is Tears of the Kingdom. I would have enjoyed and loved to have played more of these by this point in the year, but both time and money have prevented that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
But given the amount or number of hours that I have put into Tears of the Kingdom just for the heck of it, it's very much my, like, it's the game I pull up and play when I'm watching TV at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a strong contender in this category. I don't think I've ever even seen anything for Mario Brothers Wonder.
It dropped the
Like,
same day as Spider-Man. They both dropped on November 20th, or not on October 20th. And then Alan Wake 2 just dropped as well. So
yeah, I've seen stuff for Alan Wake 2. Because that's like Isn't that based off the I'm thinking Keanu Reeves for whatever reason.
That might be Cyberpunk that you're thinking of. I don't know. Um, Alan Wake 2 takes place, or Alan Wake as a franchise, takes place in the same world as Control. And so
Okay.
it's in like the Remedy connected universe or something like that. And so um, it's a spooky
Makes
game.
sense.
I don't do spooky games, but I'm probably going to try to play it
Yeah.
and see how I do. Um,
If
but
Spider-Man 2 is anything like Spider-Man 1, it's probably a big contender as well.
yeah. Uh, so for me, I've only played 2 of these games so far this year. Granted, I've never played a Resident Evil game. Odds of that happening are very slim.
0.
And I actually might have Resident Evil 4. I might have gotten a code for it, but I have not played it. Alan Wake, I'm hoping, is going to be on that line that I can get through. I've been watching some Let's Plays to like see if I can survive, or if it's going to be too scary
Yeah.
for me. So the 2 that I've played are Marvel Spider-Man 2 and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. As I referenced with Sea of Stars, the Tears of the Kingdom is the game that like I don't understand how other people like as much as they do. I feel
Fair
like
enough.
it's the like this is not a Cameron game, and that's perfectly fine. To each their own. Of like I got through. I enjoyed my playthrough for what it was. My intention has always been to go back and do more shrines and do more stuff like that. And then
Yep.
I put it down and just have not picked it back up.
Yep.
I've just kind of had no desire to go back and do that. Um, and so, like, of the games that I played, Marvel Spider-Man 2 is my game of the year. Um, I am hoping that Baldur's Gate takes it home just
Yep.
for what that means
Yep.
for the industry.
That's what I'm hoping too.
Yeah. And so that's Deanna and I are talking about doing a co-op stream of it. And so
Oh, that would be fun.
if that's something that I'm hoping to find like a good deal on it now that we're post Spider-Man.
Yep.
It's like a Black Friday deal or something. And that
If you
way
see
we
one,
can,
let me know.
yeah. Yeah. I anticipate that being a game that like I will completely love, especially based on all the stuff
Yeah.
that I've seen for it.
100%.
As someone who obviously loves D&D and loves all of that. And so, I mean,
Shocker.
yeah, I was
You
talking to
like
Ryan on
D&D?
right. I was talking to Ryan on City on a Hit on from City on a Hill, and I put 80 hours into the Kingmaker CRPG. And so I'm excited for Baldur's Gate and for what all it has kind of meant for the industry. Kind of similar to like when Among Us was doing really well. I think that was 2020. And it was like up for like best multiplayer game, even though it hadn't come out that year. But like that was like the year it kind of came into the public consciousness. For me, like on top of like the general remarks about the quality of Baldur's Gate, but like also just kind of what it's meant for like a like deep RPG that like is somewhat like a niche like genre, but like has kind of transcended all of that and become such like this major part of the year.
Yep.
And so, yeah, if I was voting, I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be my vote because of with that
Yep.
logic. But if I was also someone who was voting in the Game Awards, I probably would have played more of these games. And so there is that.
Valid?
Yeah. In chat, Nate says, wondering if we're going to see a Breath of the Wild sweep like we saw versus God of War. I'm anticipate that there will be a sweep. I think it is either going to like with Baldur's Gate, or Tears of the Kingdom. I think for anything that they're both in, we're gonna see one of them sweep the other like 90% of the time. There might be like they're obviously like Baldur's Gate is an RPG. I think Zelda is action adventure. So like those ones they aren't like competing against each other, but I think that we will see a sweep from like one of those for the categories that they're in. But then again, maybe Alan Wake is going to come through and like a lot of people have been a lot of people have been very high on it. It has tied with Baldur's Gate for the most nominations.
Is your sweater a PlayStation ugly sweater?
It is a PlayStation ugly sweater.
I just picked up on that.
Yeah.
And it's not even because I saw the logo. I saw the top line
Yeah.
with the X and the square and the circle.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm definitely just kind of curious to what we'll see there. Like I said, I'm very curious if we'll see some sort of a sweep. And then Nate also says Super Mario Wonder is a masterpiece. I feel like that was, I mean, if any game was going to come out on the same day and do fine, it was at the same day as Spider-Man and do fine. It was Super Mario, which we saw it do fine, compared to Sonic, that also came out that same day and did not do fine. At least from the fact I don't think they've posted anything about numbers or anything like that. But a great list of games, like I said, other than the one that I will never play. And so I'm glad other people are happy. And then let's jump down to best narrative. And so I do want to read like the headers for the categories. I didn't do that for Game of the Year, but best narrative is for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. So the nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. While I've never played it, I'm so excited that people are high on Cyberpunk now.
Yeah, because it had a really rough start.
Yeah, it had a very poor launch. It should probably not have been released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
No.
And I'm very excited for where people have landed on it now, because I like Cyberpunk a lot as like a setting, or as like a theme. Yep. And I'm very excited that it's kind of coming back around in public consciousness. Nate says in chat, loved it from day one and up till finishing the DLC. That's kind of how I felt with No Man's Sky. Like, I was definitely the person that, like, I agree No Man's Sky definitely got boring at launch. I still put like 25 hours into it at launch and felt like I got my money's worth. And then from there, it's just kind of continued to go and grow throughout the years. And I would much rather CDPR released a game that ran better on the platforms it was released on. I am very happy that they are being rewarded now for their work of keeping up with it and not just letting the game die.
Which is good.
Yeah. And then we have already talked briefly about Spider-Man and Baldur's Gate, but I know narratively for Alan Wake, what a lot of people have been talking about is the transition between actual actors then into engine, and how seamless that is. And so that's something that Remedy does in a lot of their games. But this is the one where like they actually have actors playing their main characters in live action. And
so the cutscenes are live action?
There are in-engine cutscenes. And then there is actual, like, they have filmed the actors playing them, like, dressed as the characters. And so...
that's wild.
Yeah, and again, I haven't played it, but from what people have said, it is insanely well done. I love Remedy's storytelling from Control. And it's super impressive that... And then Nate calls out as well, it's impressive that you can pick up Saga or Alan's storyline, and it just works. Take some good crafting. Yeah, you can play like the storylines in parallel. You can switch between them, stuff like that. I think that's super cool as well. Yeah. And then Final Fantasy 16. I'm a little sad this didn't get a top 6 for Game of the Year. I was talking to Locke over in his Discord, and I feel like there's 8 to 10 other games that if they would have been nominated for Game of the Year, people would have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
And I feel like Final Fantasy, if I had to guess, is probably like 7th or 8th. And just missed out on making it. And so jumping down.
I figured out where I got the I was swapping in my brain Alan Wake with John Wick.
Oh, that makes sense. I
So
was confused to where you were going with Keanu.
so that's where Keanu Reeves came from. Was
Mhm.
I was swapping the two in my brain.
Next up, we got Best Performance. We have Ben Starr for Final Fantasy 16. He plays Clive. Cameron Monaghan for Cal Kestis
Woo!
in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Idris Alba for Cyberpunk. Melanie Liberd, who plays Saga in Alan Wake 2. Neil Newbon, who plays Asterion in Baldur's Gate 3. And Yuri Lowenthal, who plays Spider-Man in Spider-Man. I'm so excited Cameron got on here.
Yeah,
Like, it makes me so happy that like he loves that character so much.
so much.
And while I don't necessarily think he has a chance of winning, I am just excited that he's there.
Yeah.
He gets to be at the table, and I'm so excited for him.
Yep.
Bring
Yep.
Cameron into live action Star Wars, you cowards! Like,
Just do it already. Like, there's
yeah.
no other option.
Yeah. Nate says, "Is this a Cameron-centered conspiracy?" Definitely.
Yes.
And so, and then as Mayfly is calling out, she goes, "Neil, baby Neil, vampire boy or vampire baby boy." Yeah. Asterion, I think is gonna like clean this
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah.
If TikTok is anything to represent,
Has anything to do with
yeah.
any of it.
Yeah, and I meant to say this at the top. The way that voting for Game of the Year works is there is a board of outlets that they all vote for the nominees, and then they vote again for the winners of those categories, with the exception of specific categories are divvied up to specific outlets. So, for example, if you're not an esports outlet, you don't vote for esports.
Yep.
And so, and then that board makes 90% of the vote. I think it's like 100 outlets or something like that. But they get one vote as an outlet. They don't vote. It's not every individual at the outlet that votes. So, and then the final 10% of the vote comes from fans. You can go to the Game Awards website where you can go and vote. And that is then that final 10%. So there can be a bit of like dissonance between fans versus media. And so I don't necessarily think we're going to see that big of a difference here. Again, just with I'm anticipating the Baldur's Gate 3 sweep. Like I think
Same.
Baldur's Gate will get none of the awards or will get all 8 that it's nominated for, kind of thing.
Yep.
But some fantastic acting from the stuff that I have seen. And then best or game for impact for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. I'm curious that what of these you have played. There's A Space for the Unbound, Chance of Sinar, Goodbye Volcano High, Chia, Terra Neil, and Vinba. I have played Chia. I wanted to play Goodbye Volcano High, but never got there. But
Funny, I didn't even notice Chance of Sinar was on there. It was a very delightful game overall. They had a slightly weird ending that I think was weird, mostly because I don't feel like it was executed well enough. But I can 100% see why it's under here and can be like, yeah, if that won, I could understand why it would win for games for impact. So,
yeah, I say this every year. I always want to go play the games for impact, and I just never get there. Like, I think that that's the type of stuff that we need to be like lifting up as an industry, because a lot of these are like some of the big arguments for like games as art.
yep.
And like not just on a technical level, but just because of like that type of impact. And it's often such different art than like the like visual masterpiece games or games with like the high budget stories. A lot of the games with impact also tend to be indie games. And so they have like different storytelling things and stuff like that.
Which completely tracks.
Yeah.
That a lot of them would be indie games.
Nate says that they've played every single nominee for Games with Impact since 2020, and bumps them to the top of their list. That's what I want to do, and I just like never get there.
Yeah, if you were to do that with any of these categories, I feel like it should be Games for Impact.
Yeah. And then we have Best Indie Game and Best Debut Indie. So Best Indie Game is an outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. There have been some issues, I think, with people with this, because one of the games is like a smaller team that's part of a bigger company. And so there's arguments on if they should have been included. But the nominees are Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, Sea of Stars, and Viewfinder. I played Cocoon a couple weekends ago. It's like a 4-hour game, 4.5-hour game. It's a very cool puzzler. I really liked it. I am both in the place where I both wish it pushed harder on what it was trying to do, but I'm also glad that it didn't, because it left me wanting more. I feel like it would have gotten a bit much. And it was already kind of at the point where it was hard to understand why it was working the way that it was. It was just working and just accepted that it worked. That kind of thing.
Don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah. Mayfly says Dredge.
Dredge.
That's one I've heard really good things for.
Yeah. I've watched some people play that, and it's pretty fun.
And Nate says indie is such a tough category to quantify. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest challenge, because like Baldur's Gate 3 is technically an independent game. Like, that is released outside of the normal publisher model. And so you get into that.
But it's a good thing it's not under this category, because it would completely wipe everything else off the board.
Yeah. And yeah, so that's definitely something. And then Best Debut Indie, we have so this is the best debut game created by a new independent studio: Cocoon, Dredge, Pizza Tower, Vinba, and Viewfinder. Another cool list. I mean, of course, a lot of those are also on the Best Indie Game of the Year list. I think it's 3 out of the 5 are on both lists. So shout out to those studios. Great job. I haven't like played enough of these. Like, for me, I want Cocoon to take it for both of those, but that's just because that's the one that I've played. That's it in both. And
Valid.
I liked Cocoon more than Sea of Stars, and so as like a whole package. And so, and then I want us to kind of go and speed run the actual genre categories, with the exception of 2 that we're going to skip. But we have Best Action Game, which is for the game in the action genre focused primarily on combat. We have Armored Core 6, Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant.
Hi-Fi Rush is the music rhythm based one, right? Okay.
Yeah, that was like, it's a Microsoft game that was basically like created by a small group in like one of their like horror studios. Was just like, this would be fun, so we made it.
Yep.
And Nate says weakest this category has ever been. I have thoughts on that. We'll get to it once we talk RPGs, but I've played none of these games. Like, Armored Core is on my list, but like
Hi-Fi Rush is on mine.
Yeah. I need to see if I can play Hi-Fi Rush on PC, because I do have PC Game Pass. Like, I didn't have it when it came out, but I need to see if I can play it there. But I've played none of these. Ghost Runner is the only game I have uninstalled during a stream. I just like noped out of that and just deleted it off my console. It's another game that like, I'm glad that that's there for other people. More power to you. I hope you love the game. I was
Too
just
spooky, or I don't know anything about it.
it's like a cyborg ninja game where you
Okay.
die in one hit and you kill enemies in one hit. But there's like platforming sections that are just
Eh,
like very unforgiving with checkpointing and stuff like that. And
eh.
so like there were sections that was like I feel like I spent like 30 minutes on one section, finally got through it, died in the next section, and then it kicked me back to the very beginning. And I was like, we're not doing this again. And I just uninstalled
No.
it. I think I gave it like one more try. And then like I looked in it. I was like, I have a lot more to do on this. I'm done. Um, but so yes, that's best action game.
I could not. I could not.
Then we have best action adventure. So for the best action / adventure game, combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving. We have Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Jedi Survivor, and Tears of the Kingdom. I want this to be Spider-Man 2 so bad.
Really, I was gonna say I want this to be Jedi Survivor, but
yeah.
I feel like Jedi Survivor is not gonna make it. So, given everything else on this list,
yeah, and I'd say like
I love Survivor, but
yeah, compared to action, like action adventure is like a category of bangers.
yeah,
Like,
yep,
again, as I said, Resident Evil is not my thing, but like all of these other games, this is I think the category I've played the most of with 3 out of the 5. And
Yep.
yeah, like just seems like the most Cameron category, which is like, I mean, not surprising.
that checks out.
And you know how I said that was the one I played the most? Just kidding. It's this next one, which is best
LOL.
best RPG, where I've played 4 out of the 5. And so for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Plot twist: there's no massively multiplayer experiences.
No.
So the 5 nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. So my action comment on this is, why is Lies of P here and Armored Core 6 is an action game where you spend so much time, from everything that I've seen about Armored Core, picking out what weapons to use, like customizing your loadout, figuring out like the progression. Like, it seems so weird to me that those games are in different categories. And like, I don't think you like manipulate your players' stats in, or like the actual like, oh, increase my armor by putting a point into this because I leveled up in Armored Core. But like, it just seems so weird to me that those games are in different categories. I don't necessarily disagree with it, with either of them being action or either of them being an RPG. It just seems so weird to me that they're not in the same category. Then here, love Final Fantasy 16. And I enjoyed my time with both Sea of Stars and Starfield. I need to get back to Lies of P. I think I'm on like the fifth boss, something like that. I enjoyed playing that. Spider-Man came out, and so that took over my life. And so, and then the final thing that I want to talk about, just because there's a specific game in here, is the best sim/strategy game for games focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform. I'm so confused to why this category has a platform call out and none of the other ones do, but whatever.
Who knows?
And so we have Advanced Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, City Skylines 2, Company of Heroes 3, Fire Emblem Engage, and Pikmin 4. Somehow, this is the Nintendo category, which, like, shocks me. Like, good job, Nintendo. Like, when they were going, I didn't know what else had come out, but I was like, props to y'all for having
Nintendo.
It's like it's Nintendo, then City Skylines, and Company of Heroes. So Nate says I better not be about to throw shade at Pikmin. I have no thoughts or feelings on that. But Fire Emblem Engage, I'm so happy you're here in a category that does not mention story.
Yep.
like in a game that like Nate says you had to put engage somewhere, and it definitely was not best narrative. So like I'm excited that it's here.
Exactly.
I'm glad that it's getting some sort of call out because the actual like gameplay of that game is so good. I loved the actual strategy, the actual maps and stuff like that. It feels like we did like a 180 compared to like Three Houses, where the Three Houses story is so good. And then for this one, like the story is the most like Saturday morning cartoon, fight the bad dragon. But like the actual gameplay is just fantastic.
Yep.
So I'm happy that it got a call out somewhere. Um, but with that, there's a whole bunch of other categories. I don't necessarily want us to dwell on all of them. We will, after the Game Awards have happened, we'll talk through who actually wins and at least run through all of the categories as part of that conversation. But let us know, comment section. Oh, go ahead.
I will say, I said this before we started, but in terms of best adaptation,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's pretty much guaranteed to be The Last of Us if we're talking strictly about going from video game to a different medium, because The Last of Us does it so beautifully. So best adaptation, it's Castlevania, Gran Turismo.
Turismo is the game about someone who like it's like based on a true story, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, Last of Us, Super Mario Bros, and Twisted Metal.
I feel like Twisted Metal is just vibing on this list. It's like we needed a fifth one, and no one knew. Like Arcane didn't come out this year, and like, so no one
like,
knew.
I'm just glad that I'm here, you know. But I feel like Last of Us is the best option for that. Yeah. So I'm just gonna say that as my on the record as someone with feet in both sides. So
yeah, I will be distraught if The Last of Us doesn't win. I enjoyed the Super Mario movie. It obviously did a fantastic at the box office, but as someone who is a Last of Us stan, like just how well that adapted the game to the show. It made meaningful changes that did not feel contrived. Like they make sense in the world. And I said this when we were actually talking about the show itself. I think some of them actually make more sense than the game.
Yeah.
Like I could see them not retconning the game, but I could see them changing some of the game to be more in line with the show.
They were very thoughtful about the things they did change.
Yeah. And the things they added, it's just like such a fantastic adaptation. And I feel like every week it was, are they going to mess it up? And every week was, this episode is fantastic. Like, and yeah, I'm so excited that it's on here. Not surprised by any means.
No,
but like,
definitely not.
I'm just so
I will point it out once again. I've got my Horror Nights Last of Us poster up now. Ignore the pile of laundry.
Hey, you do what you gotta do.
A grad student. But I love it. And I feel like it's a shoo-in for a winner for best adaptation. So.
But yeah. Comments, Twitch chat. Let us know what you think. We'll circle back in post-show chat. But let us know. We'll wrap up the conversation until December 7th when we will, or the next Monday after December 7th when we will be chatting about what actually happened.
After we know.
Yeah. And so with that, Emma, what do you have for us this week?
All it took was some threats of Cameron returning to LA for the strikes, all of them, not all of them, for the entertainment industry strikes to be over. Yay! So between last Monday, and today, a deal was made between the Actors Guild and the studios. And the actors are no longer on strike, which is great. So the writers got their deal, and the actors got their deal, and everyone is like mostly happy / mostly got what they got for. Couple of minorly sketchy things in the actors deal, but like at least like got a lot of protections put in place for it, and like it's a great place to be starting from, really moving forwards. So very exciting. There will probably still be a bit of a dip in stuff coming out, next year, just because it was literally from like March until now, February,
Yeah.
March-ish, that entertainment people have been on strike. Um, so both pre-production and production people, which has impacted,
Yeah.
the studio's ability to actually make things. So there will still be a dip in releases coming out, but things will start coming back sooner next year than rather than later, which is great.
Yep.
Probably, this time next year things will start to pick up again.
Yep. Yeah,
So
one of
it's
the
very
places we've
exciting.
already seen that is like Marvel's pushed back their projects. Now Deadpool is the only movie releasing next year.
Yep.
They pushed back the next Captain America, and honestly, good. Like I
Yeah.
think that's like a good thing for them.
Yep.
But I'm very interested. We kind of had this obviously with 2020, where we like went a long time without a Marvel property, and like at least for me, like I mean I love WandaVision and it's still one of my favorite things. But there was like favorite Disney Plus shows, but there was something so great about returning to to the MCU with WandaVision.
Yeah. Such a
And
great spot to jump back in.
yeah, and I just like yeah, and it was different. It was again, I love goofy MCU. I could watch
All of the
like I
Goofy.
could have watched the actual like sitcoms and just have no greater plot
Yeah.
for that show. Like I just loved that so much, and like just have the actors be goofy. Um, and then I will say, obviously, a lot of people were very affected by the strike. I'm so happy that people are back, but
Yep.
man, I feel like Amon in specific got like the strike ended right after the Marvels came out.
Yeah.
And so like she like got robbed of her first like red carpet premiere for a
Yep.
movie of like I would have loved all the references that she would have been making on the red carpet like
Yep.
and I feel so bad like again for everyone whose life was extremely negatively affected, but
Yeah.
as someone who like is a fan of her getting to be a fan, I am
Yeah.
just so sad that she missed that opportunity for her
Yeah.
first major release.
As a fan of fans being part of the projects they're
Yeah,
fans of,
exactly. Like I would
As
have,
someone who wishes to be part of the projects
yeah,
they're a
like
fan of.
yeah, like the
I'm with
actual
you.
like press tour for her would have been like so much
So
fun to see
fun.
her interacting with all of these people. Um, and yeah, I would love for her to be like on Saturday Night Live. I think that that's something that
Yep.
would be very cool for her to get to do. Um, but yeah, I again, obviously, tons of people extremely impacted, but for her in specific, very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I am curious, like we're very much in the like what projects are happening, what projects are like still gonna be like putting on hold, stuff like that. Um, I think it's gonna be. I've said this for a while with the strikes. I think 2025 is gonna be a banger year.
Yeah.
Of like we'll need
Or at
next year
least
to
a full year.
yeah. Well, hopefully banger, but like yes,
Hopefully banger, but it will at least be full.
yeah. And I really am excited for that. We're gonna get to see these people come back, get paid for their work, and get to see them like hopefully create some amazing projects that
Yeah.
we were missing. And hopefully this doesn't just lead to a whole bunch of junk reality TV, which
Well,
unfortunately
I
I'm
mean,
sure it is. But
yeah.
we've been
There's
hurt
going to
before.
be a little bit of that for a while,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But, you know, sometimes you got to suffer through junk reality TV to enjoy the good stuff.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. That's why we call it junk reality TV.
This may be a silly question, but what project are you most excited for getting the start? Or that we know of course, but like, what's a project that you're very excited to see them be able to return to?
One that I'm on.
The one that's going to have Emma's
I
name in the
say,
credits?
as someone who's literally almost done with school and looking for jobs and is like, someone needs to pay me because I have no money.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the projects coming out, I would love to catch up on Marvel, even with how iffy it's been recently. Because we've seen how, they've been a force since 2008, basically. But I don't think there's really any in specific, because my brain really has been so focused on the fact that things have been on strike for months, 8 months, who knows, months, which has then led me to go, am I gonna get a job? Because this is my industry, and if everything's on strike when I graduate, how am I gonna get a job? I don't know. But really anything that I get to work on would be great. I honestly also forget what was put on pause because of the strikes. So it's like also just like, I don't know.
Yep.
Something.
Yeah. No surprise for me, and based on our previous conversations, it's The Last of Us season 2 for me.
Oh.
Of
well, that's
like,
yeah.
I was just did a quick Google, and it is confirmed that it'll be beginning production in early 2024.
Good Omens.
So,
Good Omens.
Oh
3.
yeah, Good Omens season 3 will also be fantastic.
But I'm also like, if I could get a job on Good Omens 3, I would.
Yeah.
Like, my life would be complete.
That's like, I would be so happy for you as a fan.
Yeah.
Like.
I wouldn't be able to retire because I wouldn't have a retirement savings, but like, if I had to retire, I'd be like, that's fine. Like,
yeah, you got your project.
I have done everything I have ever dreamed of. Like, but gotta dream big. Yep.
So. With that, listeners, let us know, what projects are you excited for? What are you excited to have come back? Whether TV, movies, any of that kind of stuff, now that we have writers and actors being fairly compensated. And so, and then with that, that's where we'll wrap up episode 248. We'll catch you back next week as we continue chatting through some of the big things in geek news. And then, as always, you can find us on our social media, OneGeek411. Join that Discord server. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Check out the Red Bubble store. You can watch live on Twitch. Check out the videos over on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And then, of course, you can find us on our personal social media. Mine is Humar Whittle.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I in the prepared.
And it's been a great week.
Go outside.
Watch a movie.
Yeah.